Today we're going back to the basics. We're going to talk about how to write your dream novel in just 5 steps. Now, I have a Facebook group called How to Write a Book. And one of the most common questions is, how do I do that? How do I write a book? And it can definitely be a scary idea to write an entire novel, right? So everything from, how to start to how do I create the plot twist and how do I do all these things that have to fit into one novel. It can be kind of overwhelming, and for that reason, most people who start writing a novel don't ever get past chapter 1. So let's talk about how to avoid that and how to actually start writing your novel and get it finished.
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julie Amante channel. If you're new here, I am Julie Amante. I'm a women's fiction author. I was a beginning writer at one time. I've now been writing for over 25 years and have just learned things along the way that I want to share with you. So I'm going to ask you, if you aren't a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. I give you a video. I upload a new video every single Friday, and with all kinds of tips, with all kinds of information that is helpful to you. Sometimes it's craft like today. Sometimes it's just kind of just to encourage you to start writing, how to avoid getting stalled or other problems. So subscribe and come back and see me every Friday. All right, let's get started talking about writing the novel. Okay, why is it so hard? Like, the first question I ask myself is, why is it so hard to write a book? And the first thing that I thought was that, well, it's really not that hard. So I thought, okay, well, think back to when you just started. Was it hard then? And I think what I found the most difficult is just the lack of knowledge. I didn't know. And it wasn't like today where you can go onto YouTube or you can go onto social media or you can go on the internet anywhere and just type in, how do I write? How do I create characters? What do I do? It wasn't as easy. You had to go to a bookstore, you had to go to the library and check out books on how to write. And then you got some tips, or you had to go write some writers groups or somebody that knew something or take a class. It wasn't as easy to find information. And I think for me, that was the hardest thing, is just the lack of knowledge. And even though it is a lot easier to find information now, it's still, I think, what makes things hard is that people don't really know where to start and they think that it's harder than it is. And writers may be really excited. They may say, okay, I have a story idea and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start writing. And they do, and they open up the page and they start writing that first chapter. They're very excited. And then afterwards, they don't really know where to go. And they're like, well, I have writer's block, or I have, something else. And that's not it at all. What happens is that there is that lack of knowledge where you may think, well, I don't really know how to structure my novel, or I don't know what comes next. Or maybe you start thinking, well, what made me think that I was actually any good at this? I'm reading this first chapter and it's really not that good. And so you have a lack of confidence. So it's not writer's block. It's not that you don't know what comes next. It's probably just that you need more information on how to write or how to create a character, how to build suspense, all of those things that you just need to learn, right? And once you do, it's going to be a lot easier to actually write. And I want to start just by saying that most authors started exactly where you're at. They didn't know what to do. They just started writing. They didn't try to seek perfection. They didn't try to write that perfect novel and make it look exactly like your favorite author's novel. They just started writing, and then they worried about fixing it later or making it perfect later. So I want to encourage you to just begin writing wherever you're at, okay? But I am going to give you 5 steps that I want you to follow. So the first thing is your idea. You need a spark. You need an idea for a novel. Now, most people don't just get up one day and say, I'm just going to write a novel. They actually do have an idea. They have an idea for something, and it was sparked by something. It was either sparked by an interest, maybe just watching a movie or a show, and thought, well, that's kind of a cool story, but I think I could write it better. It should have had this kind of twist. But they had an idea, they had something that sparked an interest in writing. And from there, they moved on to starting to think about that, right? To say, oh wow, that is kind of a cool idea. I wonder if I could write a story about that. But let's just say that you don't have that. You don't really know. You don't really have an idea. This is where you start to play the what if game. Okay, so you start asking yourself, well, what if whatever, right? What if a teenager had magical powers? And where might that come from? Maybe a parent is sitting, maybe you're sitting there watching your child play and you think, makes you think, well, what if this kid could, had magical powers to do something? Or what if you watched your teenager struggle and you thought, how does this kid not see how amazing they are? How do, maybe they're not confident in school or they're being bullied and you think, how do they not see what I see? How do they not see the gifts that they have? And then that sparks an idea of a kid who doesn't really realize they have these magical powers. And is that Harry Potter? I don't know. But right, they don't know they have these powers and they use it. So it could be something as simple as that. Usually it comes from life where you're looking at something, you're noticing something, and you say, whoa, what if this happened instead? For me as a romance writer, as a women's fiction author, I'm always thinking that, right? So I'll see two people that don't get along and think, well, wouldn't it be cool to write a story about these two people who absolutely hate each other and then they fall in love, right? Lots of stories like that, friends to lovers, enemies to lovers. There's, that's one of the tropes for romance. Where does it come from? From probably real life. We see this a lot and we see that it happens and we write a story about it. Is it enough to write an entire novel? No, you need more than that. But this is a spark of an idea, right? So first step is for you to start noticing things, start paying attention and start asking what if. When you're going through life, what if this happened? What if today, what if I went to the grocery store and all of a sudden there was a huge earthquake, right? Whatever. Start keeping a journal, write down these thoughts that come to you, these ideas that come to you, and then one of them is going to be interesting enough for you to pursue. Okay, so that's step one. Okay, your second step is character development. There is no story without characters. I've made a lot of videos, and in fact, I'm going to link a couple of them here that I just had recently. One of them is about creating strong characters. Another one was about 10 mistakes that people make when creating their characters. And so watch those because you want to create really great characters. Your characters are going to drive your story. There's no story without your characters, and so you want to build your characters. You want to add the characters to the idea that you just had. So who are the characters for this idea? Who are they? What is it that these characters want? What is going to stop them from getting what they want? What conflicts are they going to encounter in your story? But that's more plot. I just want to know, like, who are the characters? And again, I'm going to refer you to those other two videos that I made because I did go into detail on how to create and build your characters. But the second step is to create these characters. Decide how many characters you need in this story, who are going to be your main protagonist, and build these characters, understand everything about them. Now, step 3 is finally getting to your plot. So we have the idea, we know who the characters are going to be, who are going to be the actors in our idea, in our story, and now we need to actually build the story. So how are these characters going to go through this? So let's say that our story was about that magical teenager, right, that discovers they have magical powers. Okay, well, that's not enough of an idea. What do we need now? What's going to happen to this character? How is this character going to develop or learn about these powers? Or we have these two lovers that hate each other. Why do they hate each other? So now we need to build the story, right? Put them in situations in opposing jobs or positions or opposing political parties, right? Whatever is going to make them really hate each other and what's going to happen in this story. So this is where we start to build, have a story arc. Think of a plot structure that you like. It could be the hero's journey. It could be the Save the Cat plot. And again, I will link another video on plot structures. I have a variety of those that you can watch on choosing a structure and then following that structure to build your story. But a tip that I'll give you right now is that you want to think about that main protagonist, that character, and what is a transformation that this character has to undergo. So if this character is starting wherever they're starting, and you know that you want them to end at a different place, right? They need to change and transform through your story. What is going to get them to transform? That's going to help you build some of the plot points and create the conflict and the difficulties that this character is going to have throughout your novel, because they're going to need setbacks and conflict in order to change, in order to be forced into transforming to this better person. So knowing their character well is going to help you, and then knowing plot structure is going to help you to build this story and create scene by scene by scene to get you to the end of the book. Now, those are the writing parts, right? So we know our character, we know what the idea is, we know our characters, and we know now we have an outline or a structure of our plot. The next thing we need to do is to create a writing habit, because the planning is a lot of fun, knowing, okay, now I know who my character is and this is what's going to happen. And, you have a nice little outline that might have taken you 5 or 10 pages to write down. And it could feel like, okay, now I'm done, but you're not done, because now you need to start writing it. And the only way that you're going to write it is if you create a routine, a habit of writing, hopefully daily. You want to train your mind from now on that it does this every day. So it could be first thing in the morning, it could be after work, it could be during your lunchtime, whenever you have some time to write. The longer period you have, the better. So if you have 5 hours to write, amazing. If you have 3 hours, if you just have 1 hour, it doesn't matter, but you want to start setting a routine so that you're doing this every single day. And what happens when you do anything, right? If you decide you're going to have an exercise routine, or you're going to have some other kind of routine, you're going to garden every day, you start to get ready, you start to expect that. If you think, get up first thing in the morning and the first thing you ever do is you go for a run, then as soon as you get out of bed, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to get up and you're going to wash your face, brush your teeth, put on your clothes, go outside, because this is something that your body gets used to doing every day. And it's the same for writing. If you can set the habit, and then you will automatically do that. Or let's say you write at the end of the day, you finish your dinner, you finish whatever you have to do at the end of the day, and you know that, oh, that is done. So now I'm sitting at my computer to write, and you start getting used to that. And when you don't do it, you start to feel kind of weird, like, hey, I missed something today. I didn't get to write. Okay, so set that writing routine so that your novel will flow and you're getting pages done every single day. If you only write once a week, or you only write sporadically at different times, what's going to happen is it's not going to flow like it should. It's not going to have that feel of a well-structured novel that follows, right? Whatever happened in the previous scene, it just makes sense. If you leave too much time, you start to forget. You start to lose the voice. You start to lose the character, right? So the more you can do this daily, the better it's going to be for you. All of this is going to get you to a finished first draft. So if you promise yourself you're going to write every day, and you write even 1 page a day, by the end of the year, you're going to have an entire novel. Usually people write more than 1 page a day, so it probably won't even take you that long. So let's say it takes you 6 months. You're finished. Your first draft is there. So you can congratulate yourself. You've actually created characters. You've created a plot. You've written every day, and now you're done, right? Okay, you're not done. So the 5th step is to revise many, many times. But we're going to start with that first revision. And during that first revision, what are we looking for? We're looking for gaps in logic. We're looking for scenes that don't flow well together. We're looking for unnecessary scenes. We're looking for character inconsistencies. We're looking for places where the story drags, the pacing is off. So these are sort of your big picture. How is this book coming together? If I was a reader, you're asking yourself, I was a reader, how would I feel? If I'm is this making me turn the pages, or am I getting bored here, or is something not making sense? So the first revision is just making sure that your story holds together. It's gelling together well. After that, you're going to revise for other things. You might look at dialogue. Does it sound realistic? You might look at, do I need to add a little bit more conflict? Do I need to increase the tension here in a certain part? You'll see that during that first revision, but in that second revision, you're going to go through and you're actually going to do more of that. I'm going to add more tension here. I'm going to correct the dialogue. It doesn't sound quite right. You might look at things like subplots. Are my subplots good? Am I dropping something here? Did I resolve all the subplots by the end of the story? What can I add to the story to enhance it, to make it better? Do I need more descriptions? So this might be your third going through it, right? Adding descriptions, adding dialogue, taking dialogue tags out, whatever it is that you're doing. Then you go back, look at grammar, look at sentence structure, look at the cadence of your sentences, all of that. So how many times should you revise? However many times it takes to get it looking well and having it be polished and something that you would be proud to show a reader, to show an agent, to send to an editor. So you revise it as many times as needed. You might only revise 3 times. I might revise 7 times. So I go over it many, many times. And then if an editor or an agent, if I'm working with one, asks me to revise again, then I'll revise it again. So it does take multiple times. I do suggest that you don't reread everything all the time as you're writing. Okay, so as you write, you don't want to go reread. Oh, sometimes I read like the last scene just to help my brain get back into the story. But you're not editing it. This is when you're writing. When you're editing, you don't need to go back and redo it. So edit the whole novel through, then go back and edit it again, the whole novel through, then again the whole novel through. So you're not going back and revising the first chapter over and over and over and over again, and then going on to the second one. Okay, do the whole thing at once. But the main thing that I want you to remember is that you're doing this one step at a time. Don't think about writing an entire novel. You'll get overwhelmed. Don't sit there and say, okay, I've never written anything before, but I'm going to write a novel, because you are going to get stuck. You're going to start writing that first chapter and then you're going to get stuck. So understand everything first. Read as much as you can about characterization, about plot development. Not that you can't start before that, but feel confident and knowledgeable, and then start writing. Start saying, okay, what is my idea? Remember, idea first, character second, plot third. Habit of writing. Sit down and start writing now. Create that habit. Do it daily. And then lastly, write the whole thing. Go back and edit multiple times. So by the time you get to step 4 of editing, you've got that first draft, you're going to feel great because you already know you've already accomplished it, right? You've already written this whole novel. Now it's just making it perfect. So everything does start with that idea and that blank page. But if you take it one step at a time, you'll have your novel finished. However, at least by the end of the year. So let me know what you think. Let me know how it goes. So thank you for being here. Remember to please like this video, to subscribe to my channel for sure, and to share with friends, share on social media so that you can introduce more people to my channel. Thank you. I really appreciate it. See you next week.